This video is the second video in my first apartment series where I'm basically going through and answering any questions that would have helped me or like anything that I wish I would have known when I moved into my first apartment and going through my experience. So last week, the first apartment video that I did was all about how much my rent is and how much my utilities are and just like what utilities I have to pay in general. I knew nothing about that and I wish I would have because utilities really add up. And then this video is all about how much I saved before actually moving into my first apartment to make sure that I feel comfortable that I can like actually afford this place and I'm not broke now that I moved in here. So let's get into the video where I tell you all about how much money I saved for this apartment. Okay, so a little backstory. When I just graduated last year, so in May, and in college I did not know anything about money, and then freshman year I became obsessed with Dave Ramsey, which I know is like so weird, but if you don't know who Dave Ramsey is, he's like all about money and paying off debt. And so like I became infatuated, I don't know if infatuated is the right word, but I became like obsessed with figuring out how I can pay off my debt and how I can just like position myself where I never have to worry about money, because growing up money was something that was often worried about, and like I hated that feeling of, I just never wanted to feel that. So I read like every single book that he wrote, I listened to all of his podcasts, and now I paid off all of my student loans, and then also like I still just go by exactly what he says to do. So I'm kind of going off like when I got my apartment, or when I was looking at my apartment, I made sure that I could afford to pay this rent, and then that I also had money saved up in case something happened and I needed like emergency money. So what Dave recommends and what I did was my rent is 20 or lower than 25% of my monthly like income. And so I made sure that I had 25% of it. And then what was super nice about me is that I know this is just not normal. So this is something that I did that just like basically I tried to help myself set up. And a lot of people are going through this right now, and it's making life easier, who are getting their first apartments because of what's happening in the world. So like I have a lot of friends that are living at home, but before I moved into my apartment, I lived at home for like that semester before, because I went to school around where, like I went to college around where I grew up, so it was super easy for me. So what I did is I pretended to pay my like monthly rent for months before. So that was kind of nice because I had that buffer when I moved into my apartment. However, I know that that's not normal, and so what Dave also recommends is that you have like 3 months of savings and like emergency expense or like emergency savings basically that you can go into before getting in. So for me, like I said last time, my apartment rent is $15.50 a month, and then I have utilities on top of it. So like my live or die like monthly income that I have to hit every single month is $2,100, and that's like rent, food, gas. And so I made sure that I had at least 3 months of $2,100 in a bank account, and I just have like a separate checkings account where I keep that money. And it just made it really easy, so I can see it right there. I have self-control in that aspect, and so like I don't reach into it that often. I have reached into it, but I try not to, because like that is my rent money, that is my emergency money. And now that I'm in my apartment, I'm trying to get like a lot more strict on my emergency money. I feel like I'm babbling, but I'm really just trying to explain what I did. So basically, I had somewhat of an advantage because I was able to pretend pay for apartment rent, and that allowed me to build up my bank account. But if you don't have that, it is recommended, and I'm 23 years old and I'm not a money expert or anything, so like do your own research and figure this out yourself. but Dave recommends that you have at least 3 months of rent in savings. So, and I made sure that I had at least 3 months. I think I'm not tooting my own horn right now because I did a different scenario than most people, but I think I had like 5 months of rent in savings, which just makes you feel so much better. Because I remember, even though I had that money in a bank account specifically for this, I was like shitting my pants when that first weekend I moved in, because everything is so freaking expensive. Like, I planned the whole entire year before, because that's just how I am on all of like my furniture expenses, but there's so many things like that just add up. Like, I went to get cleaning supplies that first weekend and that was like $200, and then I had to get like random, just like I forgot a bracket for my TV, that's another $70. Like, you spend so much money that first weekend and first month of moving in. So just like, I don't know, just having that buffer there makes me feel like so much better, and it just gives you something to not stress over. So that's what I did to make sure that I could actually afford everything. And then another tip that I have for you is to call your place or ask before you like sign the lease on how much your utilities are, and then that can also help you set up that monthly number to know exactly how much you have to have saved, or like how much your rent is. And my dad told me to do it, and I was like, no, like that's so weird, I'm not asking that, like they're not gonna give it to me. But I actually think that it's a super standard thing for a tenant or for a landlord, you're the tenant, so for the landlord to get questions about, and he shouldn't be like, he should not be sneaky about telling you that. And that can just give you a clear mind. Like, I like to know exact numbers and exactly how much you have to spend. Utilities go up and down, so you won't know exact numbers, but that will just help, I don't know, ease your mind. So that's how much I saved and how I prepared for move-in. I've said it a million times. I know that my scenario is different because I lived at home before it. I'm literally a broken record right now, but just have that, like, it's recommended to have 3 months in savings. That's what I did. I have more than 3 months in savings, and it's just good for the mind. So okay, that video was kind of all over the place, but it's fine. It's fine. I'm just talking it out. Next week's video, should we see what next week's video is in the series? Next week's video, I believe, is how much I saved for furniture. So that money is not a part of how much I saved for rent, which it's crazy how expensive this world is. And that's what I'm realizing, is that everything is so dang expensive. But next week's video in the first apartment series is all about how much I spent on first apartment furniture. So you have that to look forward to, or hopefully you have that to look forward to. Make sure to subscribe to my channel and follow me on Instagram. I am in the process of decorating my apartment bathroom right now, and I'm actually just like always decorating different spaces. I'm always posting like cheap apartment decorating tips and hacks that don't look cheap, and then also I do organization tips and cleaning tips, and it's just a great resource for anyone getting a first apartment. So follow and subscribe to my channel there. I hope you liked this video and that it was helpful. I don't know, I just think that this would have been so helpful for me to have when I was moving into my first apartment, and could just hear like a real life experience on someone that is going through all of that. And sometimes people like to just like, I don't know why it's not talked about more, because it would just be helpful. So that that is the end of the second video in the first apartment series.